All right, well, let's get started. Thanks again for tuning in today to another version of TechTime. If you got any questions you'd like to address, send us an email. Make sure you tell people to sign up for our program. We do it every month on the last Tuesday, and they're all being recorded as well. I'm Jim Strandlund. You're going to be hearing from me today, part of the Tech Service Specialist team. We're hosted again by Intertech University, or intertechuniversity.com, and look at our YouTube channel, and you will find all of our available trainings and tech times are recorded. Here's some of the members of our team, so you can put the faces to the name when you call in. And again, here's our Intertech University page. And if you go to where it says playlists here, okay, this will give you all our details. And you'll see all the tech times are located there, and you're welcome to watch them at your leisure and spread the word. And we appreciate you tuning in. Today, I want to talk a little bit about expansion valves, EXVs, and needing a replacement, and how we do some changing and how we do some installation of them. So one of the main things, and probably the most important things, is if you have a malfunctioning expansion valve, it will always produce a high-low superheat or a high or low subcooling. For this reason, checking the subcooling and superheat is the first step to test an expansion valve or an EXV, an electronic expansion valve. So I've copied down the simple tools for remembering how to do the proper testing for subcooling and superheat. Most of you people know that. There are new people in our industry that may not quite know, but it's also a good refresher, a very simple method to take a look at. One thing to pay really close attention to is the specifications that are shown: subcooling from 8 to 12 or superheat from 8 to 16. Well, check the installation operation manuals, because every unit's a little bit different. These were some general guidelines to look for. But check the IOM. If you don't have an IOM handy, give us a call and tech support. We'll gladly help you out. So we both know that we have a couple of different types of expansion valves, right? So the standard version, that's mechanical with the feeler bulb, or the electronic. The electronics are becoming more important today, and for precision and economy and greater operation longevity. They've been a very good thing, and we're starting to see a trend to go to more electronic expansion valves than the mechanical. Now, when you're going to do an expansion valve replacement, there's some particular pieces that you really need to have. And a lot of you guys may even know this, but the vacuum pump, you know, have a good strong one with good CFM so it's faster for you. Nitrogen charging and running through the system is important. New filter dryers. Recommend oxyacetylene welding sets to get in, braze your material, get out of there quick. Really important with the way these things are jammed into our units is to have the IMP tubing cutters, these smaller ones, because it's really hard to get a large tubing cutter down inside. And again, when you're doing your evacuation, make sure you have a micron gauge or a digital vacuum gauge to monitor your progress of the vacuum and to make sure that we get all the moisture and contaminants out of the system. Some other important things that I like to talk about is when you're welding, do you ever think about a fire? Do you ever think about accidentally starting something on fire? So do you carry a fire extinguisher with you, or do you know where there's one near you? Something good to pay attention to avert some danger. I'm a person who've always used cloth rags and wrap around the expansion valve fitting when you're resoldering. We don't want to overheat the internals of the valve, so wet a rag, rip them up in strips, and send them, wrap them around the fitting, and then re-wet it and do it again. So make sure you got fresh water around every time so we don't overheat that TXV. Safety considerations are important. I don't want to hear anybody starting a fire And I don't want to hear any of our technicians meeting the ugly guy on the right at the judge's table. So be careful and be safe and think about what you're doing, all right? Not only for yourself, but for your company, your bosses. Be safe, guys, out there. Now, here's a picture of a heat pump that's been tore apart so I can do some demonstrations. I recommend do not use a Sawzall, do not use a hacksaw. You'll end up getting chips of material stuck inside and can create further problems. Important that when you cut these out, we're going to purge both ways in case there's any contaminants or chunks in there. So when you cut the TXV out before you solder a new one in, please purge. This is what happens when you get somebody using a Sawzall or a hacksaw. As you can see what I got here, rough cut edges, and who knows where the solder pieces and the chunks went through. Highly recommend you guys blowing out any shavings that might come in so we don't screw up the expansion valve or any other valves inside our system. So due diligence, be safe, use your head, think a little bit. Torches, okay? Enertech and Emerson do not recommend unsoldering of the expansion valve. The proper way of doing it will be cutting them out. And if one of these were being sent back in for warranty status, and they may see that it was unswept, they may deny your warranty claim. So use your due diligence, cut them out with a tubing cutter, which I'll show you here in a minute. And always remember using a carburizing flame. A little more acetylene than oxygen helps prevent oxygen getting into our refrigeration piping. There's such tiny little pieces of material can get in there and get stuck on the orifices. As you can see on the TXV to the right, somebody unswept this one, created a lot of black soot that was inside the TXV. So this came back to us in a warranty call. So this is proof, just proving, man, don't unsweat these buggers. Do it right. Flames create oil fires and start plugging up things, and it just creates more headaches. So as you can see here, two different types of tubing cutters and size-wise. You're best to get in, clean out the insulation, and cut these babies out. Do not unsweat them, okay? Nitrogen charging running through these at all times helps prevent any other problems occurring. So do your due diligence and make sure you use nitrogen as well and purge the lines out. So you can see I actually cut this one out, the proper tools, using nitrogen. Make sure you blow backwards through them. I had a tech call the other day where they condemned the expansion valve, and it turned out it was a filter dryer. The filter dryer had come apart and there was a spring loose, and the gentleman purged with nitrogen both ways and had the spring come out, and that was plugging up the TXV. So very important to purge your lines after you cut them out. Keep in mind, some of our expansion valves that you get are adjustable. The nut comes off the bottom and you can adjust the screw. Always remember, clockwise increases the superheat, counterclockwise decreases the superheat. Our TXVs typically always come factory adjusted, but on a rare occasion, it might not be right. So when you're checking your superheat and your subcooling after you've replaced them, there always may be a potential that to have to adjust, but typically they're factory set and should be perfect for you when you get them to the job site. So anyway, just to review, when you're changing an expansion valve, always check your superheat and subcooling before you're condemning the part, using tubing cutters and not saws when removing the TXV. Place the TXV by using safe practices. Ensure no fires or line contamination, so we don't have to go back and change the TXV again or another part. Purge the lines with nitrogen. Sure, there's nothing blocking in the lines coming out. Just safety precaution. When you're re-welding, run a small amount of nitrogen in there, help prevent oxidation and contamination from soldering. Clean all your fittings, resolder them, wrapping the tubes with a wet rag. I know they make some special gels you can put on. If you prefer to use that, go ahead. I've always been keen to using a wet rag, and I've got some water there in case something were to start on fire. Make sure when you're done to use a vacuum gauge, recharge to factory specs. After you're done evacuation, do a good deep vac. That's a key imperative to make sure any other moisture that got in is gone. Once you're done, recheck your superheat, recheck your subcooling numbers, make sure it's within specifications. And again, if you don't have the specifications or the IOM near you, they're available online as well. And our secure site, if you want to get set up for that, give us a call. And when you're done, make sure run these babies in heating, cooling, hot water mode, whatever you have on any unit. Double check everything and make sure this system is going to work good and keep our customers happy, warm and cool from now on. And with that, that's it, gentlemen. Thank you for your attending. Visit our Intertech University, see future trainings, recordings, and more. If you got technical questions, send us an email, and we appreciate you tuning in today. Have a great day.